So no, curiosity didn't kill the cat. And curiosity is great, not only for the cat, but for you, for me, for everybody listening, and for the whole world. And the beauty of it is that we're born with it.
Carlos Carpizo spent more than 25 years in the tech industry before creating his own social company, Kosmos. And now he's changing the way we train disengaged young adults to become 21st century professionals. He's challenging the education industry with his very own playful revolution. And yes, it involves art education too. Okay. So welcome everyone to our Join the Playful Revolution channel. Carlos Carpizo is a business entrepreneur and Mexican origin Texas by adoption, Texan by adoption, with half heart of Scotland apparently, and a very friendly person as well. So welcome, Carlos, to our channel.
Thank you very much, Begoña. I appreciate it, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here joining you in the playful revolution that you're leading. Very, very, very much needed in this 21st century for adults and children alike.
Yeah. Well, thanks you for joining as well. I'm going to introduce you as an industry man, tycoon or something. How did a business shark like yourself turn into a social entrepreneur? Or how would you define yourself?
Good. That's a very good question, because I'm not a shark by any stretch of imagination. I think that's partly why I'm doing now what I'm doing, because I think that capitalism, the way we understand it, is definitely the best system out there. It's proven it works. However, I'm convinced that it needs a change of heart, a heart transplant, because if it's taken, to an extreme now, and people are just completely focused on profit. So from that standpoint, no, I wouldn't want to be called a shark, because I've worked for a couple of Fortune 100 companies, one European Ericsson, one American ACS, acquired by Xerox, as well as a mid-market company that I led as the company president for 5 years before going into social entrepreneurship. And yes, I'm very much focused on profit. However, we need to be careful on not to be focusing only on profit. And I think that the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, really highlighted that, because at least in the US, because I'm not an expert outside of the US or Mexico, we've seen that drive for pure profit has really come and bite us in the butt, because of all of the transfer of manufacturing to offshore countries like China specifically, and that drive for just efficiency for the sake of it, without considering the human condition, has really shown that no, we cannot be shark. I mean, I get it. It sells. We're all afraid of sharks, even though, I don't know, I guess like very, very few people get killed by sharks. We get killed much more by the byproducts of capitalism. So it's interesting. It sells. Nothing against that, but I wouldn't want to be called a shark by any means.
That means you have a different set of values. What would be, at least in Kosmos now, I guess is a new company where it represents more of your core values. And I guess is the way you see how industry in general, I believe in for profit, because it's a validation model. If you sell, is that you're providing value. But other than that, what are the core 3-5 values of your company, which is what I understand is what you learn on the way, how it should be any industry values?
Absolutely. Great question. And, I'm going to talk a little bit about a hero of mine, who's the father of modern management, Peter Drucker, born in Austria and then came to the US with World War II and he was really, really keen in improving management. However, his ultimate goal, and not a lot of people know this, is or was to improve society. So I think that the guiding star that I have, along with my partner Adri Durkidi, is improving the human condition. That's something very, very important for us. And then from there, what are the core values that we have? I'm going to start talking about some of the key things that are in my book, At Risk of Greatness, and that we've been implementing at Kosmos. And it's first and foremost curiosity, and I think that that's where we have a great link. Then ethics and character, very, very important, both at a personal and at an enterprise level. And then definitely followed by focus, commitment, grit, call it however you want to call it. The important thing is that ideas are great, but you need execution too. And it's that execution that is going to turn them into something that will definitely improve the human condition, which again is the North Star that we're pursuing with the social venture Kosmos, which is still in validation mode, and it's the intersection of art, technology, and opportunity. And the opportunities for, give or take, 18 million disengaged young adults that we have between the US and Mexico, which is ridiculous. My parents were born in Mexico, 1945. The whole population of Mexico was 20 million. So how can we not be paying more attention to that huge number of disengaged young adults? It blows my mind.
It's a big number. Yes, I didn't realize how big it was. I think you are on a mission. I think very important one. In the video reel I saw from you, you mentioned curiosity as an essential skill for the professionals. You mentioned it right now as well. Is it true that curiosity killed the cat?
That's a very good question. And from what I've gathered, no, it's not. It's just one more example of how sometimes we start, we take something and then it develops into a myth. So no, curiosity didn't kill the cat. The original writing was care killed the cat, and care understood as worry or sorrow. So yes, I think that worry and sorrow not only kills the cat, it kills us. That's part of our stressful Western society and the hurriedness that we experience every day. So no, curiosity didn't kill the cat. And curiosity is great, not only for the cat, but for you, for me, for everybody listening, and for the whole world. And the beauty of it is that we're born with it. As young children, we're sent to ask questions. There was a researcher, Michel Lunard, that recorded conversations that families have at home and discovered that between the ages of 3 and 5, children, meaning you and I too, when we were kids, we ask about 40,000 questions on average. 40,000, that's a lot of questions, and we need to continue asking those questions. It's just that, of course, as parents, we get a little bit tired and then we tone it down, or the education system tones it down. But I think it's time now for us to encourage not only children to ask more questions, but adults to ask more questions. And even more so as we go further into the automation and artificial intelligence era, because I'm convinced that machines are very good at finding the answers, but they're not good at asking the questions. We should be asking the questions, not only because we're good at it and we're born with the skill, as I mentioned, but also because who else is going to ask the questions from a character and ethical standpoint, and asking them in a way that finding the right answers is going to be conducive to improving our human condition.
Yeah, definitely. Curiosity, of course, curiosity is what feeds creativity, which is the core of one of the main core of the channel. How would you say you integrate curiosity and creativity in your current project? Or, well, does it play any role in it? Can you be specific about it? Something kind of more down to earth, or the art that you mentioned?
Oh, absolutely. It plays a critical role in it, because what we're doing with Kosmos is we're braiding arts and technology, and we're not trying to create artists by any means. We're trying to re-engage disengaged young adults through technology training, short term, meaning 12 months or less, where they learn a tech skill that can go from configuration to programming or networking. However, what we're doing is we're intersecting artistic activities, and one of them is something that we learned from you, which is drawing, right? Which is awesome because it's very simple to follow your method, and then we all can draw. Even folks that haven't used it in a while or aren't good at it like me, we can follow a method like yours or other methods for different arts and really find a way to express ourselves very simply. And that's art, whether it's drawing, whether it's painting, sculpting, music. We don't have to be Mozart to use arts to develop that part of our brain that is more in tune with the creative self that we all have as we grow up. One of the things that I loved from your method, specifically Sensei, is that it's very simple, and it's awesome because before we even developed language, we were painting in caves, and as children we paint before we even learn to speak and make full sentences. And I think that it's when we're children that we are the most creative. So we need to get back to it. And the way to get back to it, in our opinion, is braiding those artistic activities alongside technology training. Again, not to develop artists. We're not trying to make artists of these disengaged young adults. Is just using part of what we have in our operating system, for lack of a better word, to stimulate, to get back to using that creative self that oftentimes the education system, pummels out of us, or business industry pummels it out of us as well. When we're following too many processes, too many procedures, and we're told to stick to the rules. No.
And stick to your job, your task. Don't do anything else. I don't pay you for thinking or something like this. Just as a note for viewers, my method is based on the sketchnoting skills, and is as basic as the beginning. If you can write, you can draw, and I start with an O and a U inverted, and that's a person, and a square with two little circles underneath, that's a vehicle, the one you want to say. You write underneath what it is. It's as simple as that, because it's drawing for communication, to share your ideas. It's not drawing for art, although it starts building confidence, and some people might develop artistic skills afterwards, but it's not an art class or anything like this. I might have to share now some material at some point. You
have to, but I respectfully disagree, Sensei. I think that it is art. It's simple art, but again, we're not sensed to be Picassos or Dalis, right? No, they're like outliers out there. So sorry to disagree, but I think your class was art to me.
Yeah, okay, fine. I don't mind, as long as you use it and you develop it. I'm okay. Call it as you wish.
Awesome.
I would like to know if you have an example of some particular individual that started with a very maybe narrow mindset, and through your methods and with some, I don't know if you have some outlier maybe within your troopers that have changed so much, that is coming from the worst scenario and now is succeeding. Because one of the things you are doing is finding an alternative path for people to become successful, to develop themselves, learn a new skill, not necessarily through higher education, but through alternative paths when traditional education has rejected them or kicked them out of the system because of whatever. They start from a clean slate with you, and then they move on. Do you have a particular example of someone who...
I have a great example. Mind you, we don't have many because we're still in validation mode, but I think that this example that I'm about to share, which is the first gal that graduated with the program, living in the rural mountains of Mexico, is a phenomenal example on multiple fronts. So one, She's a great example because she was really sticking to the program. She believed in it from the get-go. And right before graduating, we asked them to do a final project, and it was designing and programming and creating their own webpage. And she did that, but she was getting a little bit stuck with the artistic piece because she was more into the coding and the back end of it. So we just unlocked her potential with one simple question, because we're doing it in such a way where we collaborate with artists, entrepreneurs that are already in the community. So when we saw her struggle and the time came for her to develop the marketing, artistic, touchy-feely part of the website, we just asked her, well, where do you think you can source that? And then it was like a bulb came out on her head, and she's like, oh, I'm going to ask the artists next door. Absolutely, go ask them. And she did, and she developed a beautiful webpage, and they helped her with a great logo. Mm-hmm. Now, something that we're extremely proud of is that she became pregnant before graduating. So immediately after graduating, she went on maternity leave. And being in the rural mountains of Mexico, she went to live with her parents-in-law, her in-laws. And when she was ready to go back to work, her baby was, already able to be left alone for periods of time. She contacted us back, and we told her, great, we have a project for you. And she was able to tell her mother-in-law, who had told her, oh, you cannot go back to work because now you're a full-time mom. Now you need to take care of your son. She was able to use that project as a phenomenal excuse to break cultural barriers, because she told her mother-in-law, you know what? I'm not going to leave the baby. I'm still going to take care of the baby. I just need you to take care of him for 2 hours a day, because in 2 hours, I will log in remotely. I will do this project that I'm being asked to do, and I'm going to get paid, and paid very well for the salary that she, can achieve in the rural mountains of Mexico. So we love it. This is a great example.
Wow.
Because if she had not done that, I don't know that she would have been able to break that cultural barrier and tell her mother-in-law to watch the baby for a couple of hours a day, you see. So that's a great example of what we're searching. Yes.
I got goosebumps on this story. So basically, with the salary she gets for part-time work, technical part-time work that is highly paid normally, she has enough, because she lives in a very kind of low, how do you call this? I don't know, economy. Very low.
It's a disadvantaged area, no doubts, from an economic standpoint. It's very rich culturally, which is what often happens in a lot of these places. Culture is very rich, but yes, economically, definitely disadvantaged. We actually had to ship her a hotspot so she could connect from her in-laws' house, because, of course, the internet is only wireless, and it's very limited.
So she didn't only change her life and her son's life, but she also influenced now her community. Did you get more kind of recruits from her community because of this program?
We definitely will. She's now a big proponent, and it's a great example. We're in validation mode, as I mentioned, because we want it to be sustainable. So we've had to put the non-profit training on hold for a moment, because we're now developing ways in which we can generate profit. You and I have already said, nothing against profit. Profit, makes the world run. And we need to generate profits. We're also doing it through the intersection of art and technology, more specifically virtual worlds, because we're going to use that profit to make the program sustainable. So the answer is yes. We're not pursuing that full speed at the moment.
But it's in the pipeline.
Yes, and also because the pandemic, that really, turned things upside down, and now we're barely starting to get out of it.
I think it's a fantastic project, and I was looking at my next question, because I'm still savoring what you just told me, and then us creatives are a little bit like this. We get distracted with the fly. I have here my notes. this is all kind of about your project and your current project, but you are also starting a speaking career. And I would like to know how that applies to your project, why you're doing this, where can we find you before? And I had one more question before we go. So that's the almost last.
Well, thank you.
Want me to rephrase it for you? What about your speaking career? Why did you start? Where are you going with it?
Well, I hope I'll get far with it. It's just barely starting. So I just released my speaker reel, and it's on my YouTube channel. If you search for Carlos Carpizo, Pivoting in the 21st Century, I'm sure you'll find it. And the reason I'm doing it is because I found that even though the main target audience for my book is disengaged young adults and their parents and their teachers and the community of entrepreneurs that want to help address that need for 18 million of them between the US and Mexico, the concepts are also very applicable for corporations and organizations, both at the individual level for executives or managers and at the organizational level, because the pandemic has really made it very clear that we need to pivot in this 21st century. If we don't, we are at risk as well. We're at risk of becoming irrelevant as individuals and as an organizations. And of course, being that there's not a whole lot of money around the disengaged young adults, I found it as a great opportunity to repurpose or adapt the content of the book, which, given that you're writing one yourself, you know that it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy to do all those interviews and all that research. So I think it's applicable for corporations, and I would love to get speaking engagements with corporations so I can get them closer to what they need to do to successfully pivot in this 21st century. And that's also a way to generate some profit that we can dedicate to the nonprofit activities of training the young adults. So I think it's, part of this circular economy or orange economy, call it whatever you want, is churning those wheels between profit and nonprofit to make it sustainable.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because I know you set up your company. I'm not sure I asked you before. I think you already said part of it, but I want to insist on this. You were in industry and then you created your social company. Is that because of COVID? You wrote the book first, then the company. What went first, and why did you write the book if you're already kind of making the change with your company? It's like, how's the full picture of this? Did you have an epiphany at some point, like, oh, I need to move on, leave all my past and move on? Or it was a natural step from where you were coming? I don't know. How was that transformation?
That's a very good question, and I hope that you have more than a couple of minutes, because this is going to take me...
we do. We have 20 minutes for this question.
Awesome. Well, I won't take 20 minutes, for everybody watching, don't sweat it. It's not going to be too long, but I cannot explain in just 2 minutes. So yes, I've been on a hard journey now for a number of years, because as an executive, I've been using my head probably too much. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it's great because it has served me well. And there's nothing wrong with using the head. It's just that we need to balance it with the heart. So I've been in a hard growth journey for a number of years. And then two things happened. So one is I have two GenZers. And I've seen their struggles. And as I was trying to understand, is it something that's happening only to my sons, or is it more widespread? Then I found out that it's widespread. So that was one of the reasons that I started thinking, well, how can I help those young adults, and how many are there between the US and Mexico? Now, in parallel, I made an investment back in 2017 in an artificial intelligence company, and that also got me asking questions and thinking, what's going to happen after AI? So that's where I borrowed the term from biology, coevolution, because that happens in our physical world. Species help each other evolve. That's very common. So that's why I decided to form a company called Coevolution to make the investment in the AI company, And at the same time, I hit my halftime or midlife crisis, if you want to call it that. And I read a book called Halftime, which really had a big impact on me. And later on, I attended the Halftime Institute here in Irving, Texas, for a 12-month fellowship program. So it was a mix of different things. And ultimately, what brought everything together is what I call adiosidencia. So the mix between the words God and coincidence in Spanish, diosidencia, because I was starting to become clear on what I needed to do from a technology standpoint, but I didn't know how to move forward. And it's through collaboration with an artist entrepreneur in the mountains of rural Mexico, in Olinaga Guerrero, that where I have family roots too, not only in the highlands of Scotland, but also deep in Mexico. Absolutely, very proud of my Aztec ancestry too. Then that's what really like crystallized it, and that's the epiphany that you mentioned. I was like, okay, now I know how we can do it. We just need to find artists, entrepreneurs that have done the heavy lifting, that are established in a community, whether it's urban, rural, suburban, doesn't matter, because they are the ones that have taken years to establish themselves in the community and to get the community to trust them. Because you can have the best program out there, if the community doesn't trust you, it ain't gonna work. So Bernardo Rosendo, who's been an awesome artist entrepreneur in Olinaga Guerrero, we connected, and that story I can tell at a later date, because that would definitely take us more time than what you have. Became the epiphany that I needed to form the foundation of this braiding of arts and technology, which has now become Kosmos. Absolutely.
Right. Where did the book came in? Where did you write the
book?
Oh,
and the book, that was another diosidencia, because I office out of the business incubator at SMU, where I'm also now a mentor in residence, mostly for undergraduate students that want to pursue entrepreneurship. And I hadn't thought about writing a book until the director of Engaged Learning, which Jennifer Ebinger, who oversees the incubator, told me, you know what, I've heard you talk about all these concepts and ideas. I like it. I think you should write a book. And she introduced me to the Creator Institute and Professor Eric Kester's program, which is awesome. And that's how the book came about. It started as a connection in January of 2020, and it was published thanks to the Creator Institute and their method in December of 2020, both in English and Spanish. So thank you to my sister, who's a certified translator, and I wrote it in English, and she helped me translate it to Spanish.
Fantastic. And I heard you had also the audiobook recently. Did you just publish the audiobook?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. I tend to forget because it just came out 10 days ago, and I have not been promoting it yet because I was more interested in promoting the annual conference of Literacy Texas, where I serve on the board, and that just happened last week. But now I'm going to start promoting the audiobook too. I was initially thinking to do a hardcover, but then I found out that there's a lot of people going back to learning and different styles of learning that don't like to read, and it's not because they're lazy or because they're not very smart or bright. It's because they're much more
auditory.
The auditory learning, so they prefer audiobooks, and that's why I said, well, you know what, I'm not going to do the hardcover. I'll do the audiobook, because I got responses from a couple of friends that were telling me, you know what, yeah, we like the idea of your book. Do you have it in audiobook? Because we don't like to read. We'd rather listen to it. So to all of those of you that are more auditorial on the way you learn, yes, absolutely. The book is out there on Audible and Amazon.
Yeah, I would say not only the auditory, but people who are busy and they want to go for a walk, listening to this, so they can absorb the general content first and pick up. It's kind of a screening a book. To me, audiobooks, I normally listen to them to almost sometimes even double speed, depends how slow the speaker is. Just kind of to screen the book fast and then I might go to the paper and look at the spots that I discover. It's a faster way to scan through while I'm walking or doing other things.
Very true, very true. Yeah. So hopefully that'll help get the message out there of the need for creativity and critical thinking and curiosity, of course. I hope I contribute to your playful revolution.
You are doing really ahead of me.
Grains of sand. Oh no, I'm not. But the important thing is collaboration.
We're all in this together. We are co-evolution or evolutioning. We have to help each other. That's kind of this project, this channel came about because during the book writing process, the research phase, I got in touch with people like yourself and doing things. You guys are doing things. So there are lots of people doing things, but they are not kind of adding up. There is no synergy among them. And I think there is need for more visibility of all your projects. So I want to use the channel to amplify the voices of all those who are already doing things. I don't need to go and do them. I might, but it's like, okay, but there's plenty work, brilliant work that lots of people can get inspiration from, or I don't know, get information and contact you guys and get more things moving. And that will speed up your project. And that is aligned with my own mission. And now, before I get into the final question is going to be at Ala Louis Holmes. He's got a School of Greatness channel, a podcast. Apparently he's famous. I just know him through the channel. I don't know many of the famous people in the States, but I think he's a former rugby player.
Okay.
I guess NFL would that be rugby? Never mind.
No, American football.
Rugby. Yeah.
Rugby is not that well known here in the US. It's played, but not.
To me, rugby in the States is your American football. Rugby in Europe, like soccer. You call soccer or football. Anyway, he has always at the end of the interview. So we're gonna wrap it up, unless you want to leave something else, and I will let you close the interview later. But if you are, let's assume you're kind of 100 years old, you are in your deathbed, or maybe 120, I don't know, whatever, you're gonna die soon, and you can only leave 3 lessons to people. And nothing, not your property, there is nothing like property, you're just gonna leave them 3 main lessons for the world. I know you have 2 sons, so you probably have thought of this already. It's like, what is your legacy? What's your piece of wisdom that you would like to pass on, the essence of it? It could be 1, 2, or 3. Whatever.
Okay, so let me give it a try. So first and foremost it's not about you or me. It's about the community, the group of people that you care about, where you want to belong, because we are meant for that sense of belonging. So I hope everybody listening can do things, and regardless of what you do, not only for yourself, but for others. Number 2 is focus on being, not on having. Yes, we need to have to a certain extent, but that's not the most important thing. That's not what we will be remembered for what we had. It's about for who we are and how we make other people feel and whether we've helped others. So that's number 2. Number 3, I hope everybody continues to learn, because that's what we need to do. We need to move into or beyond a continuous learning. We need to move to hyper learning, which is continuously on learning and learning new things. And I'm just amazed at all of what we have at our disposal with advanced technologies. It's just awesome. So when I'm at my deathbed, I certainly hope that before I meet my father again, he tells me, "Well done, faithful servant." That's what I wish for.
Okay, that's very good. I think I align up with your thinking as well. Just to say goodbye to our audience for today, would you like to leave them with a final message? What's your next project, the immediate project? What is your next thing?
Well, I would love to recommend another book. Of course, I would recommend my book, definitely, and you can find it on Amazon, both in English and Spanish, At Risk of Greatness. However, I would love to recommend another book, and this is a book that I just read over the weekend because I met the author at the Literary Texas conference just last week. It's a short one because you can read it in 2 hours. It's a lyric essay, and the author is David Marquis, Marquis, and the title is The River Always Wins. And you would love it too because it's an analogy of our life and water. And I love how he makes the analogy of all of us being drops of water. And then as we come together and form rivers, then that's when we affect and impact change, which is what you're doing with the Playful Revolution, what I just heard you say.
Yes.
And I love it because you are being the conduit for a lot of drops of water to come together and then form a current, become a river, and eventually get to the greater water. So I would definitely recommend David's book. It really made an impact on me. You would love it. I'm sure that everybody watching would love it. The River Always Wins by David Marquis.
Yeah, well,
in addition to At Risk of Greatness, of course.
Yes, of course. But that's such a beautiful analogy that you just made that I'm like, wow, yes, I feel like I'm seeing the river and all the little tiny, how do you call them? Not the rivers, what goes smaller before the river. You know,
yeah,
like,
the tributaries to the river, yes.
Yes.
The streams, yes.
The streams, little streams everybody's pulling, and I'm just trying to find where they are because they are already, if I say they are already hanging or running through mountains for a long time, and I'm trying just simply to find a channel for them to make a bigger river or something, which is the Playful Revolution. So
Absolutely.
Let's keep it up.
I commend you for it. You're doing a great job, awesome job. It's a privilege to be interviewed by you, Begoña, and much continued success, and love to continue collaborating.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much, because right now we're still also a little stream. Hopefully it'll become a river someday, and like Amazonas at some point. But at the moment we are kind of starting, and I'm so grateful and proud of getting the people of your level as well and your status to be so friendly and kind to join and be the guinea pigs of the channels as well. But I wish you all the best with your project, and the 18 million of youth or young adults disengaged young adults in Mexico and the States. I hope you'll get to scale this fast, because the sooner we all get together into this new learning mode, the better for society and to, how do you call it, improving social kind or humankind.
Our human condition, absolutely, improving our human condition. Yes.
So I commend you also for your mission.
Thank you. Thank you. Muchas gracias
for coming. Now.
See you soon. Hasta pronto.